Now, around 80,000 black South Africans fought for their country in the Second World War. They were segregated from white soldiers, treated as inferior, and their contribution went largely unrecognised until now. 75 years on, the Commonwealth War Graves Commission has begun a process of commemoration. Our Africa correspondent John Sparks has been speaking to one of those soldiers.
In South Johannesburg, the streets are full of people trying to get home for the holidays, a tradition that's been passed on for years. Down on Tati Street, there's a soldier who came home at Christmas 75 years ago after serving in the Second World War. And we could hear him singing from the roadside.
Hi, Simon.
His name is Simon Mahlanga, one of a tiny number of survivors of South Africa's native military corps.
I'll be at your service.
Wonderful. Simon, how old are you?
I'm about now 106.
106.
He told me he signed up for the army back in 1941.
Well, I went to the army because of my poverty. I could find that the only way that I should rather go and die is get to the army. So then I left my parents, and then I went away. Now I didn't even tell them that I'm getting to the army.
You didn't tell them?
No, I didn't tell them.
80,000 black South Africans volunteered for the native military corps, although they weren't allowed to fight by the country's leaders, who were white. Instead, they worked as guards, labourers and medical aides. Mahlanga guarded prisoners of war in Italy.
Were you afraid?
Not at all.
No.
There's nothing that has made me to be afraid in the army.
No.
Because I was so good in the army that they promoted me.
He came back as a non-commissioned officer, but he didn't get any thanks. White soldiers were given new homes. Blacks got boots or bicycles.
I was given a bicycle.
Okay.
Yes, then I had that bicycle of mine.
How did you feel about that?
Well, it was, to me, it was, I had to accept it, but really I feel it's a cheating that I've been cheated by the government of South Africa to give me a bicycle.
For many of his fellow servicemen, the injustice continued into death. War grave cemeteries in South Africa were segregated, blacks not allowed to share the same plots as whites, and some members of the so-called native regiments have never been commemorated at all. When an amateur historian stumbled on these books in South Africa's military archive, he found the names of 1,000 black servicemen inside. He's called Terry Carwood, and he's trying to verify the names of men who served and died for Britain in the First World War.
The documentation was very rudimentary and not a lot of effort was put in. A lot of them are written in pencil, and over the intervening 100 years they've faded.
The Commonwealth War Graves Commission will help. It's launched a process to recognise these long-forgotten volunteers. Back on Tati Avenue, Simon Mahlanga told us he doesn't worry much about the army anymore. When he left it, he took up singing and dancing and led marching bands as well. And they have provided him with years and years of joy. John Sparks, Sky News in Johannesburg.
Shake the body, shake the body.